grab this player time. Grab this player time. Okay. All right. So this article right here is pretty interesting. And like I said, Rebecca, my niece, sent this to me today. So check this out. So this is from a guy named Brett Bass. Tonight was surreal, frustrating, and heartbreaking for me. I had just wrapped up a very long day of work from home phone meetings and emails, and I was about to crack open a Guinness and enjoy the evening with my cat. And when I read an update in my newsfeed that the City Council of Edmonds was considering ratifying emergency powers for the mayor. These powers were to include this. An order prohibiting the carrying or possession of a firearm or any instrument which is capable of producing bodily harm and which is carried or possessed with intent to use the same to cause such harm, provided that any such order shall not apply to peace officers or military personnel engaged in the performance of their official duties. This struck me as both very poorly worded. By my reading, law enforcement and the military would be allowed to carry weapons with the intent to cause bodily harm, and rather an obvious swipe at both our constitutional right to keep and bear arms, as well as a blatant violation of our state preemption statute. All the more galling, I won a lawsuit against the city less than a year ago on state preemption grounds. I changed into a more professional clothing, prepared testimony, and went to City Hall. The city council meeting was scheduled for 7 o'clock. I read about a bit after 5. The meeting was held in full compliance with public gathering and social distancing guidelines. I was one of precisely 10 people in attendance. The chairs were spaced far apart. I sat away from others. No members of the city government were present. The entire meeting was conducted via Zoom. 2 employees of the city were present to manage the IT. The facility managers were there to ensure that we had enough chairs to see to it that their space was set up to accommodate the caution associated with the pandemic. As the meeting started, I asked where we were supposed to sign in. No sign-in was allowed. Others asked when public comment would take place. Eventually, word came down that public comment would not be allowed, even though a functional Zoom microphone and camera were already visibly in use. After repeated asks about how to reach an accommodation with the folks managing the meeting, the only thing that we came up with was to stand in the background of the gentleman running the Zoom meeting. Frustrated, some of us started to chant, "Let us speak, let us speak, let us." Just trying to give you a little feel for how it was. Suffice to say, we didn't get to. The mayor recessed the meeting. Within 2 minutes, a half a dozen or so members of Edmonds Police Department entered the room. Their sergeant in charge deserves a good amount of respect. He was tactful, understanding, and as fair as circumstances let him be. All of the officers were professional and courteous. That said, we were informed that the Public Meeting Act has been suspended by the governor with his emergency powers. Shortly thereafter, we were told that we were no longer attending a legitimate public meeting and that the building would be closed until further notice. It is worth noting that the municipal building contains both the city court, police station, permitting office, etc., all of which are considered to be essential services which the public are in need of in the state of emergency. I tidied the chairs up as I left. This was an advertised, regulated, pre-scheduled meeting that was conducted in compliance with social distancing guidelines right up to the point where we were denied the ability to petition the local government or for redress of grievances. No accommodation was made for the 10 of us who attended in person. We were asked to leave. I fully understand that we're facing a serious public health crisis, but I have never been so shocked in all my years dealing with government as I was tonight. I shared my testimony plus an epilogue of my experience with the city council. To its credit, I received 2 responses within an hour, even late at night. Regardless, these are dangerous times. Stay safe and be brave, all. That right there, I think, is a perfect example, a myopic example, a smaller example of what on a larger scale we could be looking at happening very easily. See, under state emergencies, local municipalities and authorities have right within their jurisdictions to do what they see fit. And in a scenario like this where most of the populace doesn't even know their rights, most of the populace is so they just do whatever they're told. Most of the populace is willingly giving up their rights willingly giving up and laying down their constitutional rights because they need to be kept safe from the virus, the government's testing us to see how much we'll go without a pushback. Now, I understand, again, I'm doing it right now. I'm being cognizant for these first couple of weeks of this virus because we don't know, and I don't trust my government, and it could be far worse than we're being told. I don't think it is. I actually think it probably isn't, but I don't know that for sure, and I'm willing to change that as more evidence is presented. But the fact remains that when we're willing to lay down our rights without any kind of pushback, the government is testing, the government is seeing. And when the government gets rights, they don't like to give them back. And so we need to not be willing to just take what is given to us and accept what is given to us without pushback, without questioning. And it's the government's responsibility to be as transparent about things as possible. I understand they don't want to cause panic, but you know what? If there's something to be panicked about, we need to know about it so we can make our own decisions of how best to protect our family. Government is not our daddy, and it is wanting to become our daddy more and more and more. And they are loving this opportunity to feed us and to give us money and to just say, mind your P's and Q's and we'll take care of you. And that is not what we were designed. That is not America. That is not the premise of what we built this country on. It was on independence. It was on, being able to personal responsibility, taking account of yourself and making your way without interference from government. And right now, those rights are starting to shrink, and it kind of worries you a little bit. And we are, as this titled little live stream was, in crazy times. So with that, we need to